Welcome to Lord Johnlander, the Outlander podcast for Lord John fans, where we talk all things Outlander, but especially about Jaime and his Sassenach.
And sometimes we talk about Claire, too.
We can't promise you much, but for the next half hour-ish, we can promise chaos and to make you question whatever life choices led you to listen to us. Before we get into it, this is your one and only warning that show and book spoilers are lurking around every corner.
We're even going to spoil crap that never happened.
Hello, welcome to Lord Johnlander. We are your hosts. I'm Mistress Pandora. You can call me Pan, and my co-host is here too.
Hey, it's Beth.
So as we just spent some time catching up on some things like editing, because I was super behind on editing episodes, and I found 2 episodes in the past that we owe you guys some clarification and correction segment content for. So I'm going to hit those real quick. From our episode 13, where we were discussing show episode 111, which was the Devil's Mark, we had that, is it an anachronism for Gayless to say, I guess I'm going to a fucking barbecue? And no, it is not an anachronism. I searched the etymology of the word barbecue. It's actually from the 1690s.
Ooh.
As a noun, it was the framework for grilling meat, fish, etc. It's from the American Spanish barbacoa. There we go. The raised wood structure the West Indians used to either sleep on or cure meat. Sense of outdoor feast of roasted meat or fish as a social entertainment is from 1733. Modern popular noun sense of grill for cooking over an open fire is 1931. So people have been barbecuing for a while. Now, I grew up in Memphis, so I have a very big problem with the use of the word barbecue to mean anything other than specific cuisine. But that's a me problem. It is not a method of cooking. That is a cookout. If you say, hey, we're gonna barbecue, and you hand me a paper plate of hamburger and hot dog, I'm going to be grateful and I'm going to eat it and say thank you. But that's not barbecue. That's a cookout.
But inside she's going to be going,
inside I'll
Yankees.
Be dying. Yes.
God damn you.
Damn Yankees. Yes, I will be dying inside.
Carpetbaggers.
But I'll be way too Southern polite to say anything about it. So yeah. Barbecue was a bunch of grilled, cooked meat at the time. It's wrong, but it is what it is. And then this is actually just from last episode, where Jaime's fixing the mill. In the book, he wasn't wearing a shirt. It was underwear. It was drawers. Yes.
I'm a little disappointed because I like to always think of him without undies, but you know.
Well, I mean, they weren't his. To be clear.
Oh.
It's like an old pair of Brian's Skippies or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I got it.
So they weren't
oh my God.
his. Yeah.
It was Brian's thong that was in the... To be clear.
I have been editing Take a Sad Song off and on, and Jaime in that story wears thongs a lot, so that hit home.
Oh God. I actually just read a fic from another fandom that involved the thong. Like, that's what I was doing when I was taking my ADHD 15 minutes. I was reading that fic first and then doing the other things that I needed to do, like, start getting ready for bed and stuff.
When you gotta follow your joy, man. Just follow your joy.
It's just, yeah.
Alrighty. So we are going to do something kind of weird. No one's surprised. But we are actually going to discuss 2 episodes at once. So strap in. It's probably going to be like squirrels on crack. I don't know. what's going to happen.
Just really all over the place.
Oh, yeah. I should be used to that by now. So we're actually going to discuss 113, which is the watch, and 114, which is the search, because they're super related.
And this is partially to be totally transparent, because I really do not like the search. So I've been pushing for us to do these combined for ages, because it's just something about it. I can't wait for that episode to be over. Like, if I ever watch. In fact, I've probably only rewatched it. Like, I don't even know if I've fully rewatched that particular episode until the other day when I watched it in preparation for this. And I was still just as antsy for it to be over.
Weirdly enough, like, there's just not a lot that happens between these two episodes. Like, they're long and there's stuff, but it is not even that it's not action packed. It's just, I don't feel like we accomplish much in the narrative in these two episodes.
Especially in the search, it feels so filler. Like they were trying to come up with stuff to make the hour-long mark, when they could have just, I don't know, I get really mad with Outlander when I feel like they're wasting time on unnecessary things, because there's so many things that get cut, like John and Jamie's kiss.
Yes, both of them.
And like Jamie's entire relationship with Brianna later on. That I get really annoyed when I feel like they're wasting time, because they're always like, well, we can only fit so much in. And I'm like, oh yeah, because you really needed 45 minutes of Claire singing the Boogie Boogie Bugle Boy.
Easy for seriously. You to say. Shall we take this roughly in chronological order?
Sure. I mean,
try something new.
Go crazy.
So episode 113, The Watch. This is where we find out that Jenny and Ian have been paying. Wow. Okay. This is where we find out that Jenny and Ian have been paying quote unquote protection money to the Watch. And Jamie is really pissed about it, but it's kind of clear this is coming from a place of guilt, I think.
Yeah, because he knows that it's his place, to be protecting Lallybrook, right? And he hasn't been able to, so he feels guilty. And Ian and Jenny, they kind of, I'm sure, don't have much of a choice. I mean, unfortunately, because of Ian's disability, he just doesn't have the brute strength to just scare people off and stuff, so it's just, and they really don't have much of an option.
They don't. And I think we kind of, I think we've kind of seen, I can't remember if it was in Lallybrook or in this episode, but we have kind of seen that Ian, no matter how he was brought up, no matter where his heart is in the right place, I mean, he's no longer cut out to be a soldier.
Right.
Just because of the experiences he's had beyond just his physical disability of having lost his leg, because killing, what's his name, Horrocks, really, really messed him up. I mean, I felt so bad. Yeah. I felt really bad for Ian. Poor guy.
Yeah, he was pretty traumatized by that. And, I think in a way, he probably never really had, that killer instinct.
Yeah.
I think when he was younger and he was with Jamie a lot, it kind of, he had kind of the young idiot thing, and then Jamie, I think, kind of brought that out in him. Plus, he's always kind of felt
Claire dumbass brings out the idiot in everybody.
You know, and I think he's also got that really sense of loyalty to Jamie where he's always going to protect him. So, but in Jamie's absence, his nature is just to be much more like gentle and passive, go along to get along, you know.
Absolutely. I was the one who suggested let's take this vaguely chronologically, and then I immediately jumped to the end of the episode. I didn't mean to do that, but it happened.
That's okay. We could turn it around.
Just flip a Yui. Make a U-turn when possible. This dinner that... Nope, back up even farther. Claire, hot-headed Beecham, tread lightly and don't provoke them. It's just fantastic advice that she gives her dear, calm rock of a husband. By a rock, I mean like, his head.
It's like, are you kidding me? Like,
this is... Tread lightly, don't provoke them. Okay. But I mean, okay, on the flip side, sure, if she's saying it, it must be serious.
Yeah, that's true too. Like, but we also know that she often gives advice that she does not follow. So.
Does not follow at all.
Although I have to give her credit, at least in the beginning of this episode, when she got out of bed and found Jamie being held at gunpoint, she did just keep her mouth shut.
She did good.
So
she did good for that one. Gotta give her
and
props.
Jenny quick on her feet, you know, calling him their cousin, Jamie McTavish, which was a pretty good thing on their feet, although I kind of have a hard time believing that Horrocks doesn't know that she has a brother that is Jamie that's wanted by the British.
Horrocks
but he played, and I think well, Horrocks does, but I think that Macquarie is pretty like, this story sounds really sketchy from the beginning, but I think he, like, as we find out later, where he says like that he would never turn somebody into the British and stuff, like, I think he's just kind of like, I'm just going to play along with this, you know?
Yeah. See where it's going, see where the profit may be. You know, so we talked about, okay, Ginny was really quick on her feet. Ian was too, pulling out the sword like, I polished it for you, blah, 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 blah. There is a detail in the books that I think doesn't come out as well in the show, which is how good of a liar Jamie is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we get a little bit of it, like, in season 2 when they're doing the French Connection thing, but not so much the rest of it. The rest of the series, I feel like that doesn't really get shown, and maybe because that's just difficult, but it really lends to how much of an unreliable narrator he is in the books, even when he's not the narrator.
Well, and I think, I think he's just, like Jenny, kind of quick on his feet with that stuff. And, it's survival for him. He's kind of been forced into these situations where he has to lie and do things to get out of trouble. So
I wonder if that's a Fraser trait or a Mackenzie trait or a double whammy.
I would definitely say it's a Mackenzie trait.
I mean, Dougal, hi.
Although sometimes the Mackenzies get in their own way of trying it. Like, they're better at being kind of just like, almost like openly deceptive.
Yeah. So
I get the feeling that some of that more sly deceptiveness probably comes from the Fraser side. I mean, the grandfather's called the old fox.
The old fox.
I mean,
yeah.
So,
true. So they, of course, the watch is, of course, staying for dinner because Of course they are. This is a really deeply uncomfortable meal as well.
Ugh.
Wouldn't it be nice to just sit down and have a nice dinner where the
Oh my
like
God.
like the Grim Reaper isn't in the corner?
I know, right? It's like, I don't know, in like the first like 2 seasons, if they ever just sit down and have a nice dinner.
Just like a
It's just
normal
like,
fucking meal, or is it always awful?
oh God. I mean, and we thought the jock dinner was bad. And like now these guys are like putting their fucking feet on the
Ugh.
table. And so I'm like, we've gone from the ex jock dinner to the assholes who never left hometown and they spend all day drinking at the Rod and Gun Club. Like it's just gone from bad to worse. Like it's just, not good. So, and besides those idiots acting like that, because there's that one guy that's like a total douchebag. I don't even remember if he has a name. But then, Macquarie is like grilling Jamie,
Oh yeah.
trying to like figure out what's going on. But what I found interesting was when they were talking about war, and I should have, I wrote down the quote, but I didn't write down who said it. But I think it was Macquarie who said it, who like kind of talks about the excitement. And he says, there was never, I wrote the quote down wrong, but something about the charging into the guns after the first volley before the enemies get a chance to reload. And he kind of talks about it like how it's this like rush. And it just totally made me think of the episode Jace We Pray, when Jamie is trying, in season 2, when Jamie is trying to train the men, and he uses almost the exact same description, except in a terrifying way.
Yeah. I feel like, now this is coming from somebody who works a desk job, but I feel like that's not a fun or healthy, like that's not a healthy way of interpreting a good time. That's what I'm trying to say.
But like, I don't think skydiving sounds like a good time, but there are people out there who love it. So, more power to them.
I don't think skydiving sounds like a good time either. Like, I don't need to pay a whole bunch of money to shit my pants in the air. I can do it on the ground for free.
Whatever the opposite of thrill seeker is, that's what I am.
Uh-huh.
I get my thrills from like posting, Jamie John fix in the Outlander fandom, right? Like, that's like my go, charging into the volley. But like, yes, I went there.
My version of Adrenaline Junkie is writing slash fic in a homophobic fandom. I went there too.
Yeah. Oh God.
Which is how we got into this mess of a podcast.
Exactly.
Yes.
See, you guys are all stuck with us now because people couldn't act right. It's just now, this is your penance.
This is spite fuels so much of my creative force. Anyway, moving right along. So the watch is terrible. Ginny says some stuff that is very real and relatable about getting chores done without having a kid up her ass. She said up her under her skirt, but up her ass is actually more of the modern translation. It does not change, does it?
No. And it's funny because, I was just on vacation with my family, and my 2 kids are like preteens now, and so I'm not allowed to like acknowledge them really in public, like God forbid I like, put my arm around their shoulder or something, and it's like the worst crime. But so I was reminding them of years ago when we went to Mount Vernon, and it was really hot, and they were both really grumpy, and I was wearing like this big tunic, and they were both like trying to like just like put their heads in under my shirt, like, and I'm like, it reminded me though of this whole thing with Jenny, you know, with a baron up her skirt. Well, under her skirt, but you know, it's just like it's so freaking true.
Very accurate.
Then they grow up and then they run away with their uncle, and you know, it's just time goes so fast.
Oh, they grow up so fast. So she says that, which is very relatable and normal and makes sense. But then later, as she's in labor, Claire, who's, okay, understandably curious, asks Jenny to describe childbirth for her. And boy, did we all bite off more than we can chew, because what the hell?
And I think, you know, I feel like Jenny's like put some thought into this already. Like she's really, you know, and you can't even blame like the show. Like this, she says almost the exact same thing in the book, and it's weird both times. I just even remember the first time watching that being like, what is wrong with this woman?
It's like, what? That was not my experience.
No.
Someone is doing something wrong. I'm not sure who. I don't think it was me.
I mean,
it might be Ian. I don't.
More power to her. You know, we've seen Marcelly and Fergus experiment a little in that realm in later seasons. It's just, yeah.
There's some.
Yeah, it's bananas.
It's bananas. There is just
bananas.
so many. Like, the series kind of. I'm stuck on it. I'm sorry. It's going to take me a second to get out of the mud. This book series specifically, because it's so much worse in the books, but it lulls you into this false sense of like shit's normal, and then someone gives birth or is pregnant or is breastfeeding, and then you're like, wait, time out. What?
Like, I feel like I'm getting a little too deep into the psyche of the author, and like I'd rather not.
I need to take a gigantic step back. Can we get back to something else?
I just, you know, you're right though. It's just like the books have so many great qualities, beautiful descriptions, great dialogue. Just, you know, I think you've got to kind of commend the author for her grasp of like natural dialogue, and like, but then she also has, you know, the pantry inventories.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And then other times it's something like this, and you're just like, what, where the fuck did that come from? Like, I'm just reading like two women just talking about babies, and all of a sudden I'm like, what happened?
Left field.
Was I kidnapped by aliens? Like, what's going on?
Did I dissociate just now, or did the author? What's happening?
I don't know,
and like,
but I'd like to.
And it's like, if we had a nickel for every time this happened in the books, we'd have like 25 cents, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it's happened that many times.
It's like, yeah, yep, yeah, the first or so of many.
Anyway.
Oh, God. So, and of course, you know, this also brings up, you know, childbirth, I think, brings up a lot of feelings for people, right? And like, I think for Jamie, he's kind of like, starts to think about, you know, hopefully like soon for him and Claire, they'll be having babies and stuff. And then Claire, of course, you know, she doesn't think she can have children. So it brings up a whole other host of feelings for her. And so she confesses to Jamie that she doesn't think she can have children. And you can see the visible, like, shock and disappointment on Jamie's face, but then he does really good. So he's a really good, liar. No, I mean, no, he does really good with that. So you've got to give credit where credit is due.
I do give Jamie credit for this one thing in particular, which is he's oddly good at dealing with other people's emotions.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, he doesn't force, like, he gets better at it over time. He's not as good at it in the first season or two, but, he growth. It's got to it in some facet. But he's really good when someone just needs to cry, just letting them cry, and he doesn't make it weird. When someone is traumatized, he doesn't make it weird. And I've said this a couple of times in, like, not on the podcast, but in other situations. Like, if I ever had to murder somebody, he's the guy I want the pep talk from afterwards. Maybe murder, like, in self-defense. I'm just, damn it, FBI.
Yeah.
Sorry. But that's what I'm trying to say. Is like, hypothetically,
for legal purposes, this is all made up.
Still satire. Remove that flag. It's okay.
No, he is really good about that. He's better at than, like, a lot of people today are at that type of stuff.
He's better at it than Claire is, and we'll talk about that.
Oh, definitely
next time.
Yes, next time for sure.
Oh boy.
So one other thing that I made note of, when Ian and Jamie are it kind of comes to a head about the watch, and they're kind of arguing about it. Ian really, the fact is, and I mentioned this kind of before, but he's kind of just dealing with he's had to choose the lesser of two evils, right? Like, it's either, have the British on his back constantly, or pay the watch. And, at least then they're Scottish, right? I think that's kind of like everybody's, like, take on the watch is, hey, at least they're Scottish. Like, at least we're not being screwed by the British,
And you made also this note about, or maybe I made the note, I don't remember. One of us made this note about the comparison.
I don't remember.
If
I made it or you did.
So, okay, full disclosure, dear listeners, as we are logging in to start recording, I had to pull up Stars again and start, like, rewatch that scene because I completely forgot. Like, I know this meant something. I don't remember what it was. But the comparison, I think it was me because it was in parentheses, but the comparison that Ian draws between Jamie and Macquarie is actually very interesting. So you can kind of see the guilt in Jamie again, like, just, he's self-flagellating as usual, but he's beating himself up over, I'm not here to protect my family. And Ian's not really, like, getting on to him about it. He's just stating a fact, like, we need protection. You weren't here to do it, so we had to hire someone who would do it for us. You would do it for free. Right. They just require money.
Yeah, and he's not, like, blaming Jamie. He's just like, it's just a fact.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I had a thought, and I wanted to skip back to the bananas childbirth conversation. Not the conversation, because that was weird. But, so in this, I think it's worth noting, I guess, I don't know, I'm going to note it anyway, that Jenny's baby is Breach. So yes. Claire is explaining that she's just going to reach in and guide it out. And she's like, okay, but you're getting me a drink before you stick your hand up there.
Claire's like, oh, but the baby will be born drunk.
Jenny's like, I can live with that.
And what?
Yeah. So will I, and that's the main thing. But I was just, as I was rereading our notes before we got started this evening, I just started thinking about Brotherhood of the Blade and John and Percy accidentally delivering Olivia's baby at his mother's wedding.
I love it. Which is funny because in one of my fics, I had not yet read Brotherhood of the Blade, so I did not know that John had delivered a baby. And then in one of the fics I wrote, I had a chapter called 3 Men and a Baby, and it was Jamie, John, and William delivering Brianna's baby. And then like Jamie like throws his back out and William keeps passing out, so John has to like he's got to get in there and finish the job.
Oh, okay. I think we just found our fic rec because I have not read. Which one is this? Because now I have to know.
Well, it's in my fic Prodigal Son, which is it's kind of it's basically like all about it. It has a different timeline than canon for Claire going back, and it's all about, the main focus of it is William reconciling with Jamie, but he actually gets to spend time with him. So
there's our fic rec, Prodigal Son by J. Sweet Prey. We will be linking that on social media.
It's actually my favorite fic that I ever wrote, I think. So, but it just has a very special place in my heart. So, but yes, there is that chapter, which is very fun.
I'm looking forward to that so much. So I will be doing that. Ta-da! For those of you who have not read Brotherhood of the Blade, John's mother Benedicta remarries, and there's just this whole thing. His cousin Olivia has been planning the wedding for months, and it's just this big to do. And then she starts looking unwell and she disappears, and John goes to try to find her, and she is in like immediate labor in a stairwell in the middle of this church.
I was gonna say, isn't she like in this closed off stairwell, and like
she's in a stairwell? He has to like jump over or something. She like tries to keep him from bleeding. She's like, I'm going to get help. She's like, no, you will not ruin this for me. So there's like this. Oh, bless him.
And then Percy's like, hey, what's going on?
Like, oh, I don't know what to do either. It's John trying to catch without looking. It's hilarious. Anyway.
You know, I gotta go on a tiny rant here.
Might as well.
It really pissed me off that Diana just kind of killed Olivia off. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that was
like
fucking rough.
Was that necessary? She was a great character. Like, they could have, and then she just, I don't know, just, anyways, that really pissed me off.
There's a whole bunch of great characters that get killed off just for shock value or plot filler. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like she was just bored, so she's like, I'll just kill Olivia in this book.
I mean,
in this story.
To be fair, I've done that in fic. Like, yeah, you're too happy. Time to go.
Okay. Not to talk too much about Prodigal Son, but I had a moment. I was writing that fic, and there was a character that I had included that I decided it was a terrible mistake to include them. So I was a little bit tipsy, and I made a drunk decision about how to deal with that character. So when you read it, I want you to tell me if you figured out what that was.
The drunk decision? I got it.
Yes.
I have homework.
I'll never forget that, because I think I was like texting some of my friends, and I was like, I know what I'm going to do about this.
You know what?
Like, oh God.
Tipsy
That's drunk in writing.
I have a coffee mug, actually, that Levy Squeaks gave me. It says, write drunk, edit sober. I drink coffee out of that most mornings.
Is it Irish coffee?
I mean, there are days. There are days where I consider this would be better with Jameson. Just not because of the coffee, but because of the work situation. Anyway, so moving right along.
Anyways.
Horrocks is in the way. Back to boing, 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 boing.
Note.
Okay, so you made this note, and what is...
Yes, I did.
Your husband calls Horrocks What now?
Sketchy Robin Williams.
So he's got the similar face shape and he is so sketchy.
Like the nose and stuff.
It's like Walmart Robin Williams.
Schmabin Schwilliams. Oh,
okay,
God.
you know what? I'm going to go for it. One more quick tangent, completely out of the fandom. I don't know if you're an MCU fan or not, but when Winter Soldier and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Winter Falcon is what I was calling it because I shipped them hard. But the off-brand Captain America, now that Steve is gone, and everyone was calling him Walmart Cap. Okay. Same energy.
God.
Also,
yes.
awful.
Yes.
Anyway, but this scene with Horrocks, who confronts Jamie and tries to extort Jamie, Ian comes in and saves the day. This gave me all of the Ian feels. Because one, I want to hug him and tell him it's okay, he didn't do the wrong thing. Because he's very upset for running him through. But also that line that he has in the books that he says to Jamie a lot, on your right.
Yeah.
Is a recipe to make me cry.
I know.
For very specific reasons that aren't related to this episode at all. But I still kind of ship Jamie and Ian just a little. Just a little. Like enough that it has made an appearance a few times as background information in a fic.
Well, you wrote a whole fic. Was
it
you that wrote
me and Levy
John,
did.
Jamie, Ian?
Yeah, me and Levy did.
Yeah, okay, I thought so.
That was a tipsy decision,
so,
too.
Yeah. I mean, I read it. I have to say, like, I enjoyed it in the instance of the fic. I just don't generally ship it.
That's fine. I ship things that I didn't mean to, but here we are. I can't tell what's ironic and what's not anymore. Like, it's crack ship, real ship, all the same ship to me. Anyway, maybe we can wrap up this episode. That first shot of Claire holding the baby on the front steps, it looks like she's holding a swaddled squash.
I mean, isn't that what newborns basically are?
Like, just squishy.
They don't
squishy
really
squishes.
do much.
I just think you can kind of tell it's a doll, and like I'm not hating on the production decision. It's just like it looks like a butternut squash in a blanket.
Oh God! I just watched this other show where there's supposed to be a baby in this one scene, and the baby's not like central to the scene, but the baby's supposed to be like 6-ish months old, and basically all they have is this like swaddled blanket that everyone keeps holding, and like you never see the baby's face.
They're so wiggly at 6 months.
I'm like, I know they're not like, you can't keep them all like swaddled like that, and they were still holding them like cradle style, and I'm like, you don't hold 6-month babies like that. And I'm like, could they really not even like spring for a freaking doll? Like, because it's just this like little like swaddle with like shape, it's like shape to it. Anyway, okay.
Did we get through the watch? Are we done? Do we have any final thoughts?
No, let's put that episode to bed.
Okay. Good night.
Move on to the search.
This is the fastest we've ever gotten through an episode.
I know. See, I was thinking.
You were right. All right. So at the end of the watch, Ian comes back all bloody without his leg. That's okay. It was just the spare one.
No.
And
then in this episode, he's like, poor Ian. He's so sweet. So Claire's like getting ready to go out looking for Jamie, and Ian's like laid out on the couch with like his arm is in a sling and his leg is missing. And then he's like, I'm coming, I'm gonna go. And Claire's like, you're missing your leg.
I wouldn't say I'm missing it, Bob.
And he goes, I'll fashion another one. And I'm like, sometimes Outlander is a comedy. Like,
I'll fashion another one. Out of what, good sir? Out of what?
Let me just go get a stick and whittle it. Like, what the hell are you doing, Ian? Sit down.
Hop slash, hop slash, hop slash. I'm sorry, that
Jenny's
was
just running. Jenny's running around like sticking guns in her skirts and stuff.
Okay, but Banff, Jenny is a Banff.
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
love
100%. This so badass in this episode. She gets on a horse days after giving birth. Can you freaking imagine? I couldn't even sit on the couch days after giving birth. Like, seriously.
I don't, without, like, what is she bleeding into?
I don't know. You know, I that's a good question just in general, like throughout the series that I always, think about. But
the belt
for
thing,
women,
maybe?
but
Because they had the belt, they had the menstrual belts, but
yeah.
Ugh. But it wasn't frozen. Like, she wasn't. It's not like she had a supply of padsicles she could be sitting on.
And like one of those little Perry bottles, like
poor Genji.
Oh my god, I loved those little ice pad things. They were the best.
I had a C-section. I didn't actually need it. I therefore could also not sit up because I didn't have any abdominal muscles that all been severed. This got really gross and personal. Let's move on.
Okay.
Jenny's a badass. I would not have been on the horse, but we've already established I wouldn't have made it off of Cricknadoon. I would have died on day one.
So it's a moot point.
It's a moot point.
Yeah, and I'm like watching them together, and I'm like, we just need like a spin-off of like Jenny and Claire, and then I'm like crime fighting, and then I instantly thought of Charlie's Angels, but I'm like, we need a third, and then I'm like, you just add Minnie.
Yes.
And that would be such a fucking badass show, and it would be like the original Charlie's Angels, but like Charlie would be Benedicta.
Yes. Yes. And what's his name? Bosley is actually the O'Higgins brothers.
Oh god. But yeah, I just was like, every time I watch, the very beginning of this episode, I do like the Jenny and Claire stuff in the beginning, and I'm always like, these two just need a crime fighting show. Like, it's just, yeah.
That would be awesome. I love adding Minnie to that mix. Okay, crack ship that's stuck. Jenny, Minnie, I ship it. They've never interacted. They've never met, to our knowledge. But I ship it. It works.
Well, I picture like Jenny and Minnie would be like, if we're talking like post when Jenny held Hal at gunpoint, like I feel like
oh yeah, she did that.
It would definitely be like an enemies to lovers thing with Jenny and Minnie. Like Minnie would be like, you're the bitch that held a gun to my man, and Jenny would be like, yeah, I did. Your man's a whatever, and then they have like a little cat fight, and then like they hook up.
But yeah, they have a cat fight that ends in making out.
Yeah, exactly.
Rage bang. Like it. I like it. Someone should write that. I'd read it.
It's not gonna be me.
Might be me.
I've got my hands a little full right now, but
so do I. That's never stopped me before. I can see that though. I can see Jenny explaining her position and then Minnie going, "Yeah, it sounds like hell." You're right.
Right. Like, because at first Minnie would be like, "Step off my man," But then, yeah, as soon as she heard, like, you know, Jenny's side of it, it'd be like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Well, he's a prick.
He's been away a while. I kind of forgot he's an asshole.
It was so quiet at home.
I need to know what Minnie's getting up to. Like the entire book of Go Tell the Bees That I'm Gone.
What is
like
she doing?
I need to know what Minnie's up to in England, because she can't be up to any good.
I'm actually really terrified because in the previous one, or Echo, whichever one it was, she wasn't well. She
Really?
was, yeah. If I remember, I seem to remember she was pretty ill.
I remember Hal not being well. Like he had like.
Well, he's old and stressed out.
John,
he kind of brought that on.
Right.
He's having a hard time.
Like I just remember like John going to visit, and like Minnie was like worrying over Hal, and Dottie too, and they were like taking care of him. And
yeah. Gout is what he's got asthma and gout, and he was really he was miserable, and he refuses to quit drinking.
And I think they were trying to feed him soup, and he wanted meat or something. Is that, or did I make that up?
No, I don't think you made that up. It's close enough. If you're listening and you happen to have evidence to the contrary, no, you don't. We're the captain now. Yes. All right. So Jenny, Jenny and Claire are going after, trying to hunt down Jamie. Jenny is tracking like a champ, which is really cool.
Ah, yes.
It's very cool.
And it's cool because we never even really see the men doing any like tracking like that in the show, but Jenny's like a professional.
She's super good at it, and like she's getting all of this information from her environment, which we see Jamie doing in the books quite a bit, but we don't really see it in the show as much. But yes, it's very cool. And then they're good cop, bad cop when they capture that red coat is actually really amazing, because they didn't plan it this way. I don't think they went into this going good cop, bad cop.
Well, and I think too, like for Claire, it's not even so much of an act. I think she's like, and I don't think she's like appalled at what Jenny's doing.
Mm-mm.
Like, and she says that later, but like she's kind of appalled at what they've been brought to. You know what I mean? Like that they're in this situation where they have to do this to begin with.
Yeah, so I feel a little bit like it kind of looked to me like she kind of forgot that forensic science wasn't a thing yet. So like nobody's gonna know. Who's gonna know? Nobody's gonna know, right?
Yeah.
But she would know. Blah blah blah. I guess that, conscience, man.
Yeah, because I didn't really feel like it was so much about getting caught as it was. No. She was just grappling with her own, and you see that of Claire, especially after she becomes a doctor, and she takes the Hippocratic Oath, like that becomes a really big deal to her, like the whole like do no harm thing. And Jenny, Honey Badger don't give a shit.
Honey Badger don't give no shits.
She's like, I will kill anybody who gets in my way. Like, Claire, I'll kill you too. Like,
yep.
But then
scrappy.
Good old Murtagh shows up anyways and finishes the job.
Do you think he was following them long enough and then realized that Jenny was milking herself and decided not to barge in at that moment? Because here we are. Get another nickel.
I think he might have been tracking them. I think he might have been tracking them for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was just kind of, I think he was a bit in awe of them. Because he even said, like, you two made pretty good outlaws without me. But, like, I think then he just, like, stepped in when he realized that, and I think it's almost, Murtagh has a very interesting sense of chivalry. So, like, I think that in his way, he was sparing them, the ladies, from having to kill somebody, right? Like they're kind of arguing about it, and like Jenny's like, because Jenny she's like, I'll fucking do it, But I think he was trying to like steps in because he wants to spare them from having to do that. And that's Murtagh's like chivalrous code to a T.
Which is definitely the person you want on your side.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if it's not random redcoat number 6, it's the Duke of Sandringham later.
I laid vengeance at your feet.
Yeah. His brains are oozing out. Okay. Skipping ahead. Murtagh comes to the rescue. Jenny can go home to the baby and to ice herself.
Poor Jenny.
Poor Jenny. So now they're on this. I think the word you have used for other things this season, Beth, has been cockamamie. This plan to draw Jamie out, which is true.
Oh my! It's
convenient. Now we have a buddy comedy. And just gonna go traipsing up one side Scotland and down the other, singing weird songs and dancing badly. And this brings us to the Bugle Boy Paradox. Are you familiar with the Bugle Boy Paradox? Oh, you must
hold on, because before you do that, I just want to state that this is another one of those things that's like completely out of left field, and you're like, what? Like, this is the brilliant plan that they come up with, and like I don't even have words, because it's just like could you just not think of anything else? Like, where did this come from? I just want to talk. I just want to know. Anyway, yes, you can go on with the Bugle Paradox. And no, I'm not familiar with it.
I mean, to your point, it does get frustrating when we as fic writers spend so much time trying to make shit make sense in a world that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Or like the way that I'll like try to research something for accuracy, like something that nobody is going to care about, and then I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, it's not like the author does it.
Literally, I'm putting more thought into this than the original author. So the Bugle Boy Paradox is and I say paradox in the same sense that like Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future franchise talked about paradoxes, right?
Okay, yeah.
So
I gotcha.
Did Claire bring the Bugle Boy from the early 40s? Or did the Bugle Boy come from an old traditional Highland tune that no one really knows the origin of?
Exactly.
That was it. Andrew Anderson. I can't think of their name. Crap, the name of the band. Anyway, did they happen to hear about it and like, oh, this is catchy, and then put World War II relevant lyrics to it, or did Claire bring that back by itself? So, she broke it.
Yes.
And we don't get to actually explore what the effect of this was. And now I'm curious. I don't actually want to read anything about it, but that's.
It's interesting to me because when you start talking about some of these things, it brings up to me like, the whole idea of predestination, because time travel is either completely chaotic and random and makes no sense, or everything was predestined to happen and Claire had to go back to the 1700s, because if she hadn't gone back, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy would have never been invented.
Plot twist, that's the real reason that she went back. Had nothing to do with Jamie, had nothing to do with love and romance, and 20 years apart and it's destiny and soulmates and bullshit, blah, blah, blah. No. It's that one fucking song. That's the whole reason. Whole reason. We have solved the mystery. We can all go home.
Well, but I mean, it also, it's like one small thing, right? But when you think about like think about like the just Culloden in general, like the whole rising and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously the wheels for that were in motion,
Yeah.
but like how much of Claire's influence really did sort of, did they win Preston Pans because Claire gave them the courage to believe they would win Preston Pans because, she knew from the future that they won it? Or is it just like total chance and chaos, right? Like, did she have to go back so that they could win that battle and then end up in Culloden?
So what's interesting is that so much of this series it does lean very heavily toward it's all predestined, it can't be changed, like there's no escaping
Yes.
the atrocities of the past and all of that stuff, like you can't get past it. There's nothing you can do that's going to make an impact.
At least not on the big events.
Certainly not on the big events. Apparently on the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company B, yes, there's an impact there. But you kind of see, if you think of time travel literature / film, whatever, as its own separate subgenre of science fiction, fantasy, whatever, there's like two separate, and I've done no research on this except for I've watched some flicks. There's kind of two separate mentalities of the time travelers, which is don't touch anything, let it happen, don't break shit. And then there's the I'm going to fix it. And
right.
What's interesting is that in the I'm going to fix it stories, we tend to see that it's futile.
Yep.
And maybe that more reflects shit, getting meta. Hang on. Maybe that reflects more society's view of things, that like the horrible things never happen. I mean, think about the last 2-3 years of our history that we have personally experienced. The bad shit don't stop at all.
No.
So it makes sense that that would be reflected in our film and literature and TV.
Yeah, it's like that fatalism.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it, there's also too, when you look at like time travel, there's the whatever Diana claims hers is, right? That it's like a straight line and there's no loops or whatever, which I don't believe her. There's something that happens in season 3 that I'm like, nope, you just disproved yourself. But anyway.
Well, pause. No, there's something that happens in episode 1. So, did she say that? Because, I don't.
Yes.
I'm never blocked on social media.
She says there are no loops, that it is like, I think either she or maybe it was somebody else tried to explain it, her philosophy, by saying like, it's kind of like time is running like on different train tracks, and like so like the 1900s is one train track and the 1700s is another, and like Claire can like jump, and the trains are going forward, and Claire can like jump from one train to another, but they're going to continue to go forward. They're never going to loop around. They're never going to, they're going to be just parallel the whole time. So that's what Diana says, and there's just it's like fucking Swiss cheese.
Doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. So setting that aside, generally speaking, there's like two schools of thought with time travel, which is like the loops, right? And then there's like the branches, right? Where every time you change something, you create like a new timeline. And then all of a sudden you have all these multiple timelines happening kind of simultaneously, which is that's like kind of in Back to the Future, right?
It always helps when the time travel is intentional, because they tend to draw pictures to explain it.
Yes. But I just, yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that, but I kind of like the multiple timelines thing, because I think it's really fun to think about. Like there could just be this other timeline where just like one thing was changed, and there's like another me out there just like living a different life. I don't know. I think that's cool.
Multiverse kind of theory.
Yes.
Thing.
Oh, multiverse is, and I think I've brought this up before, but Stephen King's The Dark Tower has both looping and multiple timelines and multiple universes. So it's like the ultimate, like, kind of time travel science fiction story. It's like this like epic. And it's, that whole series is like my favorite book series of all time.
I'm going to pass on that because that just hurts to think about. I don't need to learn quantum physics to enjoy fiction, please.
He's so brilliant though, because he brings it, the way he like brings things together. I mean, DG would just, she could not hold a candle to the way he's able to do that. And then I think I mentioned before, though, he has that other one that I talked about a little bit, I think in our last recording, which is the Kennedy one. So I would recommend that because it's not as complicated.
It's complicated. We used to watch, so I don't really watch TV anymore, just because no spoons. But we used to watch like The Flash on the CW, and I stopped when it started getting all like multiversal bullshit. I'm like, I can't do it. And now Marvel is starting to do that too. And I'm like, guys, come on, pick a story. Tell that one. Pick a planet. Stick with that one.
I love it, but I think it's part of it is just the way my brain works. Just because how I'm always like firing these weird connections and stuff. I think that stuff just like really is like nutrition to my brain.
It's not for me. I watch a Doctor Strange movie and I always end up feeling just a little bit stupid at the end of it. Anyway, this is not about the MCU, but here we are. Grumpy Murtagh.
My plan worked.
Your plan worked. Here we go. We're not talking about the episode you don't like. Although this episode is like pre-France, because Murtagh in France is exceptionally grumpy and delightful, but this episode is also peak Grumpy Murtagh, and I am here for it. Grumpy Murtagh is my favorite Murtagh. I like him just a little pissed off.
I love it. I love it so much. I mean, when is Murtagh not a little pissed off, though?
A good question.
Can you name a time?
I can name a time he was really sad, but I can't.
I don't think that counts.
Don't think that counts. No, he's always a little peeved. It suits
that's
him.
What we love about him.
That's what we love about him. What Duncan has done with his character in the TV show is just, I love it. I'm so glad that I watched enough of the show to get to know Murtagh before I started reading the books, because I love show Murtagh so much better.
Oh, I mean, book Murtagh is like, he's like barely like
he's
there.
barely there.
Like, he's just, yeah.
He's fabulous in the show. Claire and Murtagh, though, they do come to this great understanding. I would like to point out a theme that Claire repeatedly, we have talked about it before and we'll talk about it again, she seems to think she's the only person in the world who's ever been in love.
Or who loves Jamie.
Exactly. Oh my God, everybody loves Jamie. That's the whole point of the series. That's the whole reason John exists as a character, is because everybody loves Jamie. Right? Like,
yeah.
She gets so snotty about it.
Yeah. She's ridiculous.
Yes. It drives me insane. But she and Murtagh come to a little bit of an understanding, and they kind of bond. Interestingly enough, they bond over Jamie the same way. Well, not the same way, but similar to how Claire and John bond over Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same. There was no boning this episode.
It's funny, though, because, Claire always gets so defensive and gets her hackles up about the way people deal with Jamie or people trying to help with Jamie. But then it's almost like she just has to, like, gets slapped in the face a little, because then she's like, oh, you just love him too. Okay, I get it.
Jesus. No, she's not the jealous type.
No, not at all.
Not remotely. She's cute cross-dressing, though.
She does look cute. And all I can ever think of is like, because like I think like one of the first time Jamie sees Claire in breeches is like not until after she comes back.
Yeah.
And he kind of goes, you know, he gets a little like pearl clutchy about it, but also like I can see that ass.
Right. He's an ass man.
And like, so I just keep thinking like, well, he missed her in her first cross-dressing era.
What a shame. Where are we?
Okay, so one of, as much as I don't like this episode, one of the best lines when Claire says to Murtagh, stop quoting the Bible, it doesn't suit you.
Well, she's not wrong. It does not. It doesn't suit him. It doesn't suit him at all.
I love it. It doesn't suit her either.
No, not remotely. They have some trouble with a pack of travelers. That one dude has a really interesting take on intellectual property.
Songs are just songs. They're out there.
You can't own them. That's okay.
Okay.
How AO3 of you, man.
Although, I mean, that really was kind of the actual, you know, I mean, songs were such a big part of oral storytelling that you expected people to take songs, make them their own, spread them around, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Claire's the one kind of being weird about it.
Well, nobody can sing that song but her, because
as if she isn't violating copyright by using the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy.
Your copyright law hasn't been written yet. It's okay. But they do show back up and they kind of do the right thing, I guess. And they say, we got a message for you. And it's not from Jamie. It's from Dougal, who is a smarmy bastard.
What a fucking disappointment when you think she's going to find Jamie and it's fucking Dougal. Like, that's like the biggest fucking letdown.
Dougally.
In a letdown of an episode.
Right.
You know? It's like the I would say peak letdown, but it's more like the bottom of the pit of letdown.
It's the crap frosting on the shit cupcake.
Oh, yeah. So he's smarmy. He's just being he's like so happy that he's going to be getting rid of Jamie.
He
basically
is.
The bottom line. That's the bottom line.
Is. Oh.
He's already talking about him in the past tense.
Yup.
Like,
so gross.
He just swoops right in with Claire and it's like, I'll marry you.
Blah,
you know.
Blah, blah. No.
Well, I'll grind your corn.
God. Do you have to? At all. Can we not?
Just leave my corn alone, okay?
Keep your cob to yourself, man.
I want my corn intact.
Husked. Not husked. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, and that's like the end of the episode. It's just like an hour of nothing. It's like the original Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing.
I can't remember if I clicked next on the Claire going to the camp and trying to convince the men to go with her is the next episode, right?
Oh, wait.
Or does that happen?
No, you're right. It does happen at the very end of this one, and Willie is the one that volunteers first, and then, you know,
and then
Angus.
Honey
Honey Badger.
and
yes.
And Tweedledum.
What does Jamie call them in season 2? Fathead and
I don't remember
or something.
I've only seen it once. I don't know.
Actually, it's Murtagh that coins those nicknames. Well, we'll find out soon, because we will soon be in season 2.
There. Well, we did it. We shoehorned 2 episodes into 30 little minutes.
We even talked about John a little.
We actually kind of talked about the episode. We mostly trash talked the episodes. But it's us. That's what we do.
Season 1, like, a lot of people are like, it's my favorite season. Like, and like, it does have some of the best episodes, but
it has a distinct lack of John.
Yes. It doesn't have John.
It's missing something
or
very,
Al.
very crucial. God damn it.
It's just missing the grays. It's just...
It is.
Outlander without the grays is gray.
It's just really straight, but also very not.
Yeah, it's missing the queerness. That's the bottom line. Well, I mean, you've got Sandringham, but...
no, we don't claim him. Good. We don't claim him.
No, well, no, but, I mean, ugh. Anyway.
I should go back. Like, I have a hard time, like, reading through the books a second time. Rereading something is difficult for me. But I kind of started a reread of the series back in January, and it lasted like a week, and then my power came back on after the storm. I had other things to do, but I was like skimming through it, just looking for like Jamie being really bisexual. And basically, if he's on the page, I could highlight something. So it's like, you've highlighted half the page. Well, yeah, the other half, he's not there.
Yeah, it's exactly. Well, and I think you and I have talked about this just amongst ourselves, though, like, about how, like, I don't know that Diana was, like, meant to be writing a bisexual character, but it's so prominent that, like, she just couldn't control it. Like,
will not be stifled.
No. He's gonna speak his truth.
Gonna be mad about it while he's doing it, but that's not, it's not mutually exclusive. Oh boy.
I could go on a total fandom rant right now, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to be peaceful tonight.
Okay. Next week we will go on a rant.
Next week will be a very serious and very ranty episode. So, just to warn folks,
I think,
are we going to do the last 2 episodes to try to do those together too?
Probably.
Did we decide that? I can't remember.
I think that's what we intended to try. I haven't rewatched them yet. It may depend on how much awful things I have to say about it.
Yeah. So, but we're really, again, like we did with, The Reckoning, we're going to handle those episodes with care and really kind of more focus on the issues in them. Like, we're definitely not going to give you all like a recap. Like, no. we know what happens. And we're going to really just more focus on the issues, and, it'll be a little on the heavier side versus, I don't think there's going to be much humor at all.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be bringing John into the next podcast episode much, if at all.
Yeah.
Unless it's, related to the criticisms that we are going to have, because there are plenty. So there we are.
All right.
We didn't have a boner break this time, and I think that's okay. There was no opportunity.
I mean, really, especially the search is just like,
well, the search, there is no killer. So. Well, there's no Jamie to have a boner in the search. I mean, the only place I could really think of for a Jamie boner would be when Ian kills Horrocks. No, not yet.
Oh, God.
Because 4, I'm just saying 4.
Oh, God.
Okay.
I think we're good.
No, you're good?
Okay.
All right.
I'm good. I'm good on that
one. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us. We do so much appreciate We appreciate that you spend time with us every week. It's wonderful. And we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. This podcast is not affiliated with Outlander, Sony, Starz, and definitely 100% not with Diana Gabaldon. All opinions expressed are our own, and we may not even believe them ourselves. In fact, nothing in this podcast should be taken seriously as a general rule. We may not even be real people. Does this podcast even exist?
This podcast is not suitable for children, immature adults, homophobes, anyone who takes fandom too seriously, people who don't understand that the characters aren't real, people with sticks up their ass, people who hate fun, and people who have no sense of humor. Do not try any of these hot takes at home. We are professionals.
The FDA has not approved this podcast for human consumption. Side effects may include nausea, vomiting, the urge to send us anonymous homophobic hate, ringing in your ears, and constipation. If you experience any of these side effects, ask your doctor if dying mad about it is right for you.
If you know us in real life, no, you don't.